about the meet and greet.
Okay, so we'll be taking off the water treatment plant CIP and waiting for that, the engineer requested to move that one to a different meeting.
So remove 6B1, and we want to add 6B. We can add city attorney meet and greet. Liz, you have something?
I was wondering if we could add, just some discussion about city code.
City code. All right, put that as 6B. City code. I'll look for a motion to approve the agenda with the 2 additions and the 1 subtraction.
So moved.
I'll second.
The motion second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll open up for public comments. If there's anyone who would like to discuss anything not on the agenda, please come forward and state your name. Yeah, please, if you could,
How exciting,
wait
we're
for the
gonna get on the
microphone
job.
on.
I'm so excited and
State
honored.
your name and address for the record.
How many years has it taken us to get you up there?
Don Waffles, I live at 400 Ash Avenue South.
Okay.
I'm on the planning committee, and at our meeting the other night, we were talking about the ordinance change for, parking trailers and RVs and things in people's yards, and we tabled it, and we're gonna continue it at our next meeting. So I was just wondering, maybe it might be a good idea to send out a flyer or something to the residents to make sure they know what's happening with that being talked about as far as the ordinance change, and if they have any extra input. I know we didn't have any at the, our previous meetings, any spectators or residents, and I'm guessing nobody really knew about it.
Okay.
To make sure everybody kinda knows, so if something changes, that
Yeah, and
everybody knows
Yeah, we can
what's
certainly,
going on, and nobody gets really upset about it.
that's a good idea. We can certainly, social media, we can send some out, put some on water bills.
Yeah, and as you
With the water bill or something.
yeah, as you continue to work on it too, like, when you, like, you can always invite people to your meetings while you're working on it. And then also before you pass any, or make any changes, there'll be a public hearing. So people can definitely come to that public hearing too,
Oh,
and
we already had public hearing.
not on this one,
Oh,
no. Not on the parking. That, the public hearing was on the changes to the commercial industrial district. But the parking
Right, yeah.
would still need a public hearing.
It's going back to the planning commission to come up with recommendations to.
right, how does that begin, so.
Yeah, I've already gotten questions, and I wasn't even at the meeting.
You know, and when I talk to people about it, they don't know anything about it. And I said, well, you guys gotta come to these meetings. These open meetings, everything's open to the public, and I'm the only one that ever shows up to the.
All right. Perfect, thank you. We'll certainly, do something, and like I said, we'll have an open forum for discussion.
Right.
Thanks, Don.
Sure.
All right.
I want a chance to say something.
There you go, thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll close public comments with no one else coming forward. Is there anything on the consent agenda that needs to be pulled?
The February 26th city council minutes under 4 approved list of RFPs for city attorney, that was incorrect. Or there were some corrections that were made today, that actually Melkert, Hubert, and Chagin was not one of the 3 that will be invited for the meet and greet. It's just Kennedy and Graven and the Ratwick, Russ, Zach, and Maloney. So we we changed that, and so the staff is recommending that change to the minutes. And then also at, I think on the front page, it said January 8th, but it should say February, was it 24th,
So do you want us
26th?
to approve it with those two changes? Do you want us to pull it, you'll change them and put it in next?
You can do either. You can do it with my recommended amendments.
Unless someone wants to pull it, then we'll leave it on with those two changes.
So, where am I gonna see exactly how that motion was made?
So, I do have the copy that I can show you that would be signed if approved. So it just would say, so what I changed this, and Mayor Dodge requested approval of 3 RFPs for the city attorney Kennedy and Graven, Chartered, Ratwick, Roswick, Maloney, and Melkert, Hubert, and Tajin for a meet and greet with the council. A motion to approve the list of RFPs for city attorney for a meet and greet was made by Elizabeth Butterfield for Kennedy and Graven, Chartered, and Ratwick, Rozak, and Maloney, and seconded by Councilmember McNeely. Motion carried 2-1. Mayor Dodge, a nay.
Yep, that's accurate.
So the motion said nothing about, excluding.
Well, because she didn't include the,
When I made
Melkert,
the
Hubert.
motion, I did not include Melcher, Hubert, Zodi. That was, Mayor wanted that. Okay. So when I made the motion, it did not include that last
Right.
group.
Is that clear enough?
Yep.
Or should we pull it for further?
My questions will come later.
Clear stuff, okay. Any other? Consensus, anything else?
Yep, on the EDA, it doesn't need to be pulled, just on the planning, the last planning commission meeting, you have Les Hahn as attending and being absent, which in Les's case, that could happen, maybe.
Oh, that was in the.
But he was absent. I think he was physically absent at that meeting.
He was physically absent, yes.
Poor Les.
That was in, you're right, okay, yep,
So he's
okay.
being removed from the present?
He was not there, yep, so he would be removed.
All right. Anything else with the consent agenda? Then I'll look for a motion to approve the consent agenda with, the changes to the regular city council meeting, correcting the date and correcting the, the approved list for RSPs for city attorney section. And on the planning commission, striking Les Hahn as the president.
Make that motion.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll make that motion.
A motion, a second, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Just real quick on the consent agenda, I talked to Maggie, a little bit today about this, we think we're gonna, structure these a little bit different now. Some of these minutes are draft minutes, so we'll make sure there's watermarks on them, and then the ones that are draft, because the planning commission or EDA hasn't approved them yet, we're gonna move them now for your information. And we're only gonna have in consent minutes that have been already approved at the commissions, and now are coming to us for approval. We have planning in there, it was just from last week that planning has, they may have changes to them, so we don't wanna approve them too far in advance, so, going forward, that's how we're gonna see them now. I think it, will flow a little bit better.
Yeah. I like still being able to see them though, because
Yeah.
sometimes EDA, we didn't see them for 3 months, and then.
Very important, it could be
Yeah.
more than 3 months.
Yeah, 'cause I like
so-
to read the commissions that I
Mhm.
didn't attend.
Right, yep, so that's why we'll keep it at your information down in that section, and then once it's approved,
Good idea.
then they'll come back, so I said that'll should flow.
Mhm.
All right, 6A, rate study.
Okay, so at the previous city council workshop, Abigail Eichenmeyers presented some information on on our enterprise funds, kind of the health of them, and kind of a proposal to do a utility rate study, just because I had asked them to look at our enterprise funds to determine whether we needed to raise our rates this year. I wanted them or somebody, and I know Ellers gave me a quote as well that was quite a bit higher to do a rate study. But I just wanted somebody to do more of a comprehensive analysis of our wastewater, our water, and our sewer funds, just because we will be having some debt falling off in the next few years. Also, the opportunity to pay off some of that debt ahead of time. And so they kind of came in and gave some information on the process that they would take to evaluate our current rate structure, based on like our current debt and our future projects, based on like our capital improvement plans and stuff like that. So they provided us with this summary, and I think we kind of had a good discussion with Abdo, kind of what it would look like in the end, and it would kind of just give us a good idea of where our rates are going to be throughout the next 10 years based on that comprehensive look. And so it is, the rate study is $8,000. There was one potential benefit, a lot of benefits, but one big benefit would be to possibly eliminate that $300,000 levy that we kind of supplement for our sewer debt. And so they would review that. And so while there is a cost, there's some potential savings, or large savings by eliminating, at least for the taxpayers, that significant amount of debt that we levy each year. But then it could also get us, making sure that, if the results are that we need to increase, then we would increase, but then evaluate if we're in a healthy spot for the rates that we're currently at.
Clarification.
I thought we discussed it last week.
Just at the workshop.
The work session.
Yep. So then it had to come here for final approval. Just for the $8,000.
So I'll look for a motion to approve the Abdo Eichen Myers rate study in the amount of $8,000.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Motion and second, any further discussion?
Yeah. So, this study does not, it seems to be more extensive than the one we've already had.
Mm-hmm.
And we looked into the one we already had, and it did not include the future, like the consideration for the loan being paid down or the funds being paid down. Is that right?
Well, the way that I was looking at it is I don't think it looked at the whole picture, kind of, what the debt is one thing, but also the future projects that, if we're going to be doing these capital improvement plans, this rate study will take into that consideration those kind of high-priced expenses in the future that we have to take care of as well. And so I don't think that rate study really looked at that. It kind of looked more at what is our current debt, what is our current expenditures, and how are we going to cover that within the next 5 years. And if you look, the rates were going up pretty significantly. And so and one of the reasons as well is I don't know if it took into consideration ever getting rid of that levy of $300,000 that we're currently putting on our levy each year, which I think was supposed to be a temporary helpful thing temporarily to help cover our debt. So I think what they're what they're doing is they're gonna be looking at the CIPs that we're already doing, making sure that, our rates for the next 10 years will align with all those future, maintenance, future, infrastructure that we need to build, if we need to build anything. So I guess the way that I was looking at it is, I don't know, I didn't think that the current study, it wouldn't extend after the 2 years. Like, it was only, I think this was the 4th year, and it wasn't gonna look at that 10 years and look at completely what, like our maintenance and getting rid of that debt that was currently, that we're levying for. So I think this would kind of look at the whole picture and, just because I know, we do have residents that ask a lot, like, about our rates, like, if they're gonna go up, when they're gonna go up, how significantly are they gonna go up, and I guess I don't have that answer. So...
And so at the end of this, we'll have a recommended increase per year.
Right. Not per year necessarily.
Or not,
I mean, I think it would
See where
kinda
we
give us
are.
a look if we, based on the expenses for each year and the projects and maintenance upcoming, like how, if we need to increase our rates and how significantly we would have to per year. And we might not even have to, if they're able to, if we're able to cover our costs.
Cool.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, 6A2, audit update.
Okay, audit update. So, at the last council meeting, we did have Abdo here, and they did go over our audit. With that audit, we did have, it's pretty common for a small city for sure to have, certain, recommendations. With that audit, kind of, since we're so small, we do have issues with segregation of duties, and so, that's pretty common to see. But what I did was I outlined, if I can get to it, each concern. I think we had 7, kind of red flags that the auditors kind of came up with. So what I did was I wanted to let you guys know, and I worked with the mayor on this a little bit, kind of what they felt was a condition or a concern, the recommendation that they gave us, and the response that we've taken to make sure that this year we can try and move forward and eliminate some of these concerns in the future. I know some of them are going to be difficult to do. We are taking steps to, with a small staff, we are trying to take steps to do more segregation or shared monitoring of finances and like financial reporting and utility billing. And so I don't know if you have any questions. I don't know if you want me to go through each one, but
Yeah, I don't need, he went through, what I wanted to make sure is that we capture them. They were critical findings. We needed to make sure we didn't lose track of them. So
Yep.
I just asked Maggie to put together a little project plan. What are we gonna do? What's some timelines when we think we'll have complete, just so we don't lose track of these, because they are all pretty critical for the city. And so I think she's got a great start here. Keep tracking to them, keep us posted, keep us updated once they're completed, just to make sure we're aware of it.
Right. And I know.
I don't need you to go through them one by one.
Okay. Yeah, and I know one thing that Abdo kind of suggested was just maybe even quarterly or every other month sitting down with me and just reviewing kind of where we're at until we can get to a place that we're
lose track of them.
right.
So, if anyone else has questions on this, they ask, otherwise we'll move on. All right, thank you, Maggie. Now let's move to 6C, planning, number 1.
Okay, so we did have a joint planning commission meeting with the council. At that meeting, prior to that meeting, there was a text amendment that was discussed by the planning commission. They were reviewing the C1 and CI commercial districts. I did include a map so you kind of know where those districts are at. There was a resident who had asked for a review of these districts. I think our current code is pretty vague, and so they wanted to kind of look at they reviewed neighboring cities, kind of what's allowed in the similar districts, and kind of expanded our permitted, our allowed, and our conditional uses in each of those districts. So it went for public hearing and then came to the council for approval. The council did review it, but then asked the planning commission, or at that joint meeting we discussed kind of there was concern over sexual oriented businesses in those districts. And so at that meeting we discussed it was shown that sexually oriented businesses are an accessory use and a conditional use in those districts, and regulated by Chapter 114 of our city code. But I think the discussion centered around kind of making, like, while we can't eliminate this sexual oriented businesses in all districts, we can put some conditions on it and make it a little more conditional if a business was interested in coming into the city. There was a consensus to remove sexually oriented businesses as an accessory use in the C1, so it'd strictly be commercial industrial district that this would be located in. And then there was also discussion as to creating distance regulations, like from residential schools, churches, and so the city planner did suggest that it go for a public hearing with possible suggested language that's outlined in your packet. This would be at the council level that this would go to. And then, because right now sexually oriented businesses are regulated by Chapter 114, which is that's a separate chapter. And so if we want to add distance regulations, then we would have to hold a public hearing to change that code.
I thought for this ordinance situation, we would have to have another one.
We would have to have one if we want to change it for the distance. So that would be kind of a step moving forward. Otherwise, the language has come back to the council with the sexual-oriented businesses being taken out of the C1 district, and then also everything else remains the same as when it came to the council before, as it relates to what the planning commission recommended.
So, are we okay to strike that out of the C1 district without changing the code? Because I thought John said it was actually in the code.
It is in the code. So if you look in the new ordinance that he proposed, he did strike that.
And we can do that without a public hearing?
They already had a public hearing on this section, so he said yes because we tabled it and we didn't close it, the topic or something. So
Gonna trust.
I will trust that as well. But yeah, so the update he did make was crossing that out in the C1. But all the rest remains the same from the previous city council packet. And so they're recommending approval of ordinance 218 with those recommended changes, including that new change for sexually oriented businesses.
To the code, to the actual code, Chapter 114.
That will have to go to a new public hearing.
Okay, that's what I asked. Yep, that's what I meant.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so that will
So we
be
can approve this with
you can
those
approve this with that change.
before that chapter is changed.
Yes.
Because right now it
this
says we have to include it in the C1 and the CI.
No, the ordinance, draft that is looking to be approved has it crossed out.
Mhm.
This actually aren't to businesses, so
Yep.
by passing this, you would eliminate it as a permitted use in the C1. It would still be a permitted use in the commercial industrial,
Mhm.
but, if we hold a public hearing in the future on 114, that would then create more regulations. So we aren't changing the regulations yet, we're just eliminating it as a permitted use in that district with
In
this
C1.
ordinance. So any regulation changes would have.
I'm not sure. Okay.
So you're just eliminating it. You're still keeping it in the commercial industrial. You're keeping 114 the same, so
Mhm.
you're regulating it the same as it is now. But John is saying if you want to add those distance regulations in to make it a little more strict, then you would have to hold another public hearing for that chapter, because it's a completely separate chapter.
Is this something we need to run through an attorney?
I don't think we could.
Well, to me, it just doesn't make sense. And I know that John was concerned that we can't just, we had to leave it because it was in our actual code, in chapter 114.
You have to hold a public hearing with the council for that chapter, because it's not zoning.
To change.
This is zoning.
Okay.
So this had to go to the planning commission. Regular code just comes to the city council.
Okay.
And so
Well, that kind of makes
he's
sense.
saying you can't change it at the planning commission level, you have to change,
Mhm.
I don't know if that makes any sense. But, so he's saying that you can change the zoning right now,
Okay.
but you have to go through the process to change the code, the regular
Right.
code at the council level.
Okay.
I mean, we can, if you want to, if you're,
Well, we've already tabled it. I just don't want to,
so what you're doing.
do it in the wrong order,
Okay.
I guess, but.
Seems to make sense to me, and John, as our planner,
Yep.
is saying that this is the correct process. I would agree with that.
Yeah, and he did say, just as part of the process, that this can be approved and that to recommend to the council, if you want to continue with changing regulations in the city code, that would be the next.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll look for motion to approve ordinance number 218, amending Title 15 Land Uses, Chapter 152 zoning section 152.058, General Commerce District, and Section 152.060, Commercial Industrial District.
We're all scared to do it out of the right order.
All right, I'll make the motion to approve it. Do we have a second? I'll second that. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That will take us to 6D, City Attorney Mead.
Okay, so, my only question is, well, probably not gonna be my only one. I don't understand, okay, so the meet and greet, is just a chance to meet some of them that we've narrowed down. What is the good reason why we didn't want our attorney there when his prices are in line, he's local, he has our history? I mean, what does it hurt to have them there? Just to talk to the new person, I see that they're proposing someone who's worked for the League of Minnesota Cities. I don't get why they were like, I don't get the thought process there. It just seems like it doesn't make sense.
For me, they didn't make a good argument why they wanted to remain our attorney.
I mean, if we asked them to submit supplemental information on the proposal, and they didn't.
I got the impression by the RFP that they sent back to us, I got the impression that they don't have an interest in being our attorney any longer.
I could say echo that.
So it's not anywhere near the other one saying that.
All right. That was my only question.
City Code.
Yes, I've had quite a few people, contact me in the last couple of weeks about why the city is not going out and shoveling the street or the sidewalks after 24 hours. You know, our city code says that if the residents don't do it in 24 hours, we can do it, and we don't have to send a letter.
Good question.
Because there, and I will say, I have an issue with it too.
So you're saying, I don't have sidewalks, so, so the residents have 24 hours
After snow.
after snow, and if they don't, the city will do it, and then we charge the residents
Yeah, we can.
for the time to shovel the walk.
And what it says in our city code is, the owner occupant of the person has, the sidewalk must be cleaned within 24 hours or less of time as the commissioner may determine is necessary for the protection of the public health and safety. No notice shall be required respecting the clearing of snow from the sidewalk. If the sidewalk is not cleared within the time required, the street commissioner may have the sidewalk cleared, and the owner of the property shall be responsible for all costs and expenses of clearing the sidewalk. If the owner fails to make payment within 10 days of billing, the cost should be passed on to the property provided by law. So that's our city code, and there are lots of sidewalks out there that have not been shoveled all season long.
Do we have a fee schedule for that?
I think it ends up being the cost of their time.
A public works cost?
It's in our ordinance, what it's in our ordinance, fees are, or penalties.
That's like our main thing is lobbying for this.
And that's, my
Like,
feeling
the
is.
majority of the ordinances that are on our books that we don't do anymore.
There's a lot of them.
Planning,
Parking,
I was at the planning commission meeting last week, and, you know, it sparked me to go through every single one of our city codes. And we're not enforcing hardly any of them. So first of all, you know, we can have you do it, we can have you do it, we can have Kyle or Brent do it, we can have the police officer do it, we've got lots of people who can enforce these ordinances. So there's a lot of people out there that can enforce it. Why aren't we enforcing it? Because, in my opinion, we're a small town, and like I said last week at the planning commission, according to our covenants in our communities, in 3 communities, I took 30 pictures of 30 different homes that are breaking the covenant. But yet, this weekend, I went to the city of Hopkins, this is only 4.2 square miles, with 19,000 residents there. Their city code is very similar to our covenants. Did not find not one home in 4.2 square miles.
I thought we couldn't enforce covenants. We have to enforce our codes.
That's why the planning commission's discussing this.
Working on that, yeah.
But the thing is, if we're not gonna enforce the little codes, if we're not gonna enforce one code, why should we enforce another? I mean, one of the questions I brought up at planning is, who's gonna enforce it? You know, we're not enforcing the codes we have now. So, the question is, what are we going to do to crack down on our city code? If we have these codes, we've got to enforce them. If we don't want to enforce them, then let's change the codes.
Yeah, and I can, definitely work with Public Works on the snow for sure, and see kind of how we can.
Send out like a reminder too, like, I think that has, she's done that in the letters.
Yeah, we did in the newsletter and on the know the parking is at planning commission is because we didn't really have the team too.
Right, and
I
I
guess
get that.
that'll be good, a good step in
But if we're not gonna enforce
but-
on city code,
Right.
what makes anybody think that you're gonna let that city code when that comes to fruition, if it comes to fruition?
Yeah.
And isn't that what we also pay our sheriff deputies to do, is to enforce city codes?
Some of them,
That's what,
depends.
according to our city code, we can delegate a lot of those to them.
Yeah, and I can, talk with him too, kind of, like, try and get an approach, like, okay, I know, like, they're really good with, like, animals, like, they do a lot with animals, they do a lot with parks.
That's not our-
That's
yeah.
the CSO.
That's Carver County.
And the response from the sheriff's office is gonna be is that if you would like to have more CSO time, they will definitely provide that to us.
Well, a lot of
Well,
times,
and-
yeah, they'll send them out of their area.
Yeah, but I can talk,
I think you have a valid point. I mean, we don't
and letters,
enforceable. I think historically, we typically, because of the small staff, I think from my experiences, we typically enforce them when we get calls or complaints about them.
yeah, and I mean, I can be
Then we
definitely,
typically go out there, we don't have a lot of staff to do it,
Mhm.
follow up on it, make sure we're getting them all.
But when it comes to the sidewalks, I know that either Brent or Kyle, they are out there, like, right after the snow wall and the public trails, like, to the park and stuff, they've got those suckers lickety split.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I'm
and
surprised too.
why
that-
they can't come out 24 hours there and go, nope, not done, shoot, go through, right down the address, you send them a bill.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that people don't do it, cause it's really their liability if something
I would
happens, but,
prefer to try to work with them first. I mean, I'd prefer to try to get a door hanger and specifically put it on their doors or do something. I understand they do stuff. You know,
Like a warning, here,
I don't wanna just, I would hate to also just start, go out tomorrow, clean
Right,
them all,
and I
cover
get
them
that.
with bills and,
Right.
and we create more issues.
But there's nothing wrong
I
with
think
the
it's-
sign on the door that says you got 24 hours to clear
I
this
would
out.
love to get, and I brought this up years ago, is getting a door hanger that we can put on for those things, that has about 3 or 4 of our top things, so they can check on the data, and, and put things on. I think that's a great way to start.
What I
That's what I
saw-
was talking about, a work session to kind of start discussing how we can do that, but.
But how many times, I have similar issues in my neighborhood where, I think only complain so much, for something to get looked at. And finally, like letters, warnings, things get done, and then it's like a vicious cycle. A year later, we're back in the same boat. Crap everywhere, is it my responsibility to always go and check to make sure that they're following all the codes? If they're not, calling up city and saying, hey, they're back in violation, that's
Partially.
right, yeah.
Everybody's
They take
responsibility.
a reactive approach, like they do with all the communities here, that when I was in Victoria, that was something that the city really cared about, and us being the town cop, I cared about that, and I went out and did it.
Right.
But it's a matter of, I don't know if we need to address the sheriff's office and say, these are important to us, please take care of them.
Mhm.
I mean, unfortunately, I don't think it should be that way. I think that whoever's assigned your city, and that's part of dealing with the community, is dealing with the blight issues.
I think for the first year or two also, it's gonna add a lot, and we have to possibly then hire more staff, and we have to be prepared to.
Oh, yeah, if we're gonna start addressing blight, yeah, we're gonna need to, up CSO time.
Yeah, Public Works has spent a whole week doing that.
Yeah.
So, we've got money in our, sheriff's office budget, where if we need to add some more hours, a couple days a week or one day a week, let's just go around and do that.
I think it's just a retraining of people.
Well, that's
I think
it.
once people start getting door hangers, once people start getting fines, once people start having a fix knocked on the door, then nothing will get rough.
People are used to us not enforcing any of our ordinances,
Right.
so they just assume it's not gonna happen.
Right.
Don, you said you had a lot of people talking to you about the changes to the parking, and were they,
No, they didn't talk
oh,
about
okay,
that. I mean, just general conversation,
okay,
and a lot of people
Don't even know it.
don't know that, okay.
Let's start talking Public Works, let's start getting an idea of what we think our top, ones for a door hanger or something like that, that we can.
Yeah, and they can
Obviously, we
just
can
cross
make things
out.
another important one is watering. Because, you know, we're using water during the summer that, we shouldn't be, and there's people watering all the time. And right now, people are parking on the street when they're not supposed to during the winter time, and I think there's just...
You're allowed to park on the streets after it's been cleared.
Yeah,
Side to side.
but that happens before that.
Oh, right.
You know, it's like in our neighborhood, I mean, you can tell the areas where people are parking because they're still full of snow.
So I propose a work session.
Yeah, and I can
That's
definitely.
what I propose, a work session.
Yeah,
To get our top homes, decide how we're gonna, or do we wanna go up tomorrow and start shoveling and just start charging? Or do we wanna try that? Yeah, that's what I propose, unless, Liz, you don't think there's something we wanna try to make a motion tonight to do.
Can we post on the city website, because I think we have it, the agendas on the Facebook page? Can you email us? Because I know that, we were doing that for a little while, and then people could read that, and then they would know if they should talk. You know, I think that's another way.
They're all over there.
Well, on the Facebook page.
Oh, on the Facebook page.
Yeah, just like, I think in the past, they would post the minutes, or like what the agenda was gonna be, so that people knew, and also maybe do that for the commission. You know, like, hey, there's a park board meeting, here's the things we're gonna be talking about. Because I think it's important to hear what people have to say, because, you know, for me, I don't have a sidewalk, so it's like, I don't need to pay attention to that ordinance in my own personal as a resident, because I don't have them. You know, not everybody has a sidewalk, but, you know, I think everybody, you know, be more transparent too, to invite people to come.
Other things we can work on too, you know, even getting to the sidewalk thing. I know sometimes where there's sidewalks, the snowplow tends to dump all the snow right there. They'll put it on one of the other corners where there's not a sidewalk and help out, so. And I know that happened last snowstorm, so people try to get the sidewalks clear on the road, and the pile's just high.
Well, yeah, that's the third hand. I watched the snowplow, there's nothing you can do when it's that deep and that thick, and when he blows it, it ends up on the sidewalk.
Some of it I know on my corner, he could have dumped it on any corner, dumped it on that one, but again, he might not know there's a sidewalk there because it's so buried. Right, you know, so.
yeah, and I think we want to get out the parking issues, you know, because there's going to be people in town that are going to care about not being able to store ice houses and boats and trucks and whatever on the property, so it's going to be a change, depending on what happens. And I would say that...
Discussion, you know, like, I don't think anybody knows what it's gonna end up in the end, but just a discussion, because I'd like to hear people's thoughts and feelings about it, and why do people have things there, and how long, and, you know, points of things.
All right, so.
And I invite either the commander or patrol lieutenant or somebody from the sheriff's office that can speak to operationally what they can or what they will or will not do when it comes to,
It's pretty much in their contract that they just signed.
We've worked with Gary, so see what Gary says, and then we need to.
And I know, Chief Bradley Councilmember, we used to have our deputy coming to the city council meeting. What happened with that, or is he doesn't come anymore?
Yeah, that kind of fell, I think when he got injured, we were trying to get him back every quarter. Yeah, it's probably time to get him back,
Yeah, but, you know, these things we could be, sort of postponing to a work session or having magic all up, hey, here's my, here's a certain person.
That's a good point, it's been a
What are you saying? No, no heads up to them, no, go out and shovel tomorrow.
No, just first city code, to start enforcing the snow plowing or the snow blowing.
No Kyle here, no.
And the ordinance says that we don't have to give them a notice, but it doesn't say we have to give them a notice. So basically, if they wanna send out a sign saying you got 24 hours before the hours, that's something we can do.
I think this is our bad because we haven't been enforcing it, and now if it was me and someone all of a sudden in the middle of the year, after how many years of me living here, they're gonna shovel and charge me, I'd be pissed, so. I just don't think it's, I mean, it's an issue, I get that. It's been a huge issue, I think, on Main Street this year with the businesses, some of them not, it's all ice in front of their place.
It says they have 12 hours.
And, you know, yeah, it needs to be done. I just want to, give them some warning, some fair warning that we're gonna start enforcing it.
I agree.
That's my
too.
thought.
It has to be done.
And then it wasn't on the agenda before this meeting.
I don't.
I'm not ready to do it.
I would agree, but that may be how many complaints have we had at the city about shoveling sidewalks in residence? One all year.
Yeah, I haven't gotten anything today. Yeah.
Just today. And yet I hear it every day when people are out walking. 'Cause I walk every day or run every day, and I hear it, like yesterday, I must have seen 6 or 7 couples out walking, and they all said something to me. Why can't these people do their sidewalks up in the, I'd rather get a city code or city ordinance about this. So,
Yeah, I mean, I really believe in a balanced approach to enforcement. I just don't know if I'm comfortable with
And we can start the
shipping out
application
a
process
ticket right away.
Right, that's
before,
my.
we discuss it.
I don't think our residents know what they can do, you know? I mean, everybody, a lot of people are passive aggressive, you know, you complain about it and you don't do anything. I mean, you know, I had a dog barking issue with one of my neighbors, and I was told by our town officer, call 911. And that's the only way that I can get that ordinance enforced. Well, it was hard, you know, for me to call 911, even though I'm like, I'll call 911, but it's the same people,
Yep.
you know? So I did, and, you know, I had to do it several times for it to be documented, and same thing, like I'll see on Facebook, there was teenagers running around at 2 in the morning, but nobody ever calls. You know, so it's like, so then we can't document it, and we have nothing to show that it was done. So I've always recommended is the best time is call when it's happening, don't wait till the morning. That's what we pay for.
and they don't know what's going on, so they'll actually wait till 8 o'clock to call.
But everybody's so worried about, it's not an emergency, I want them to be, I'm like, that's our only way of communicating. You can call the non-emergency number, that's fine, it's gonna ring a different phone, but it's the same person.
Yeah, right. You know, the other thing about if we were just to all of a sudden start writing tickets right now, it's midstream, I'm just wondering if somebody decides that they wanna fight their ticket, they're gonna go to court, they're gonna have some court costs with sending whoever to go testify. And the judge is gonna be like, well, this feels like this is just not fair, they didn't know about it, to change in the middle of the game. I don't know, I think we need a little more warning.
All right, any further discussion? We have a motion and a second to enforce city code. All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion fails. City council reports, number 7. Eric, anything in the retaining meetings? Vice?
Not that we haven't already talked about.
I spoke to, MnDOT engineer, Lucia last week, and he is submitting a special request for us to get a $30 speed limit sign within the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, and I did confirm that today with the,
Did Martini also confirm that?
yeah, Diane said that, so I told Dave that you had reached out to Minda, and I think
Did
Diane
you?
sent something.
Yeah.
And we're coming into spring, so, like, we really need to talk about that intersection of Casey's more again.
Put that on the website?
And Mike actually got a very good idea. The flag.
Oh, yeah, a quick fix one. We talked then, for now, we are gonna go into closed session. Purpose of the closed meeting will be to meet in a closed session to